YouTube, I Love Seville group.
Twitter's live too. Guys, we'll get going here soon. I see Twitter live, J-Dubs.
Cool.
We're getting the stream started. YouTube, you're right, is live. Thank you, Judah. Let me know when LinkedIn gets on board. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, thumbs up the show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd like to grow our YouTube positioning. Please. That would be great if you could do that. It's the Friday edition of the show. And we have some content for you. Yesterday's show was fun. Judah's working on compiling some of the content from yesterday's show. Let me know when LinkedIn is live there, J-Dubs. We got we believe we have the church I'm least convinced of. We think we have what is the oldest church in the Charlottesville area. But as we're going to highlight once the content is finished on iloveseville.com, this is by no means the Bible. It's a living and breathing document. So if you can think of churches or businesses that are older than the ones we've put together with the help of you guys on yesterday's program, crowdsourcing capacity, just DM us or email us or send them over and we'll gladly update the list. I want to talk on today's program about an intriguing listing that just came on the market. Let me know when headlines are in too, J-Dubs. First, we'll work on getting the last of the streams up and running. But there's 3,500 Sunset Lodge Court, which is on just off Ivy Road. The Cottage is on Ivy Road. It's a 10-room. I guess you could call it a hotel. It was formerly the Sunset Lodge Dining Room and Motel. It was founded in the early 1900s. 10 thoughtfully designed one-bedroom, one-bath units. There's also a house on the market. This is an intriguing little opportunity for somebody in the real estate investment world. We'll talk about that on today's program. A lot we're going to cover on the show. Like the show.
LinkedIn should be good.
Share the show. Let us know when headlines are in too. Thank you. We'll talk on today's program perhaps a little more on the firing of iconic reporters. I guess is firing the right word? I would say more layoff, right, with the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Mike Barber and Dave Teal, we touched on that yesterday. I'm not seeing LinkedIn Live. Are you sure it's good, Judah?
It should be. Check it again.
I'm going to trust your judgment. And let's see here. Did I just get the notification? I did, 12 seconds ago. Thank you. Well done, Judah. LinkedIn is live. Thank you very much. Let us know when the headlines are in, and we will get started on the Friday edition of the show. We'll have some fun today. What's that? Yeah, we pick the ones that you think are most compelling, please. And then we'll get the show started. In fact, why don't you start with me on a one-shot and then get them in and give me a thumbs up when they're live. Thank you. And we're going to have that oldest list up and running. Did you have any floody roads on the way to work today, Judah?
No, I didn't have any problems.
Okay.
Thank goodness. All right, quiet on the set.
Guys, it's the Friday edition of the I Love Seville show. Good afternoon, and thank you kindly for joining us on yet another soggy and rainy day. I've said this, I think, for, a week straight. Schools canceled today due to the rain. I know Greene County Public Schools canceled due to the rain. I've been told a lot of other ones either delayed start or also canceled. and it goes into the weekend. And I'm looking at the weather forecast for next week, and there's a lot of rain on the weather forecast for next week as well. The old Apple weather app is saying rain on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday with already soggy grounds. Giddy up and get ready. Collateral damage of what? A hurricane upon us? All right, Judah's going to get headlines on screen here in a matter of moments. Roger Voisinet, welcome to the broadcast. We appreciate you, Roger. We've got to get you back on the show, Mr. Voisinet. Yesterday's program was a lot of fun. Got a lot of positive feedback from yesterday's program as we crowdsourced the oldest businesses, churches, and the most iconic operating organizations still in operation, businesses and churches on the program yesterday. You, the viewer and listener, provided the content. And what we're going to do, what Judah's been working on, is compiling that list from the show into one digestible one on one story on iloveseville.com so you can see it. We'll make sure we circulate it. I think it's compelling content. We have what we think is a pretty succinct and precise list of the oldest restaurants in Charlottesville. Now, oldest restaurants that are still in operation. Now we've put together a list of the oldest businesses in Charlottesville that are still in operation, and that should be ready soon. I've been told by the Elmer's Glue of the network that the headlines are on screen. Is that right? All right, thank you. Judah B. Wickhauer. Look at the screen for some of the topics we'll talk today. I want to give some love to Pro Renata for being a partner of the show. Dr. John Shabe, from dentist to beer baron. John Shabe. Pro Renata booming. Doing a hell of a job, John Shabe, with hiring people and creating new business opportunities. He lured the brewmaster from Basic City over to Pro Renata. That is quite a coup right there for a Crozet outfit that has now expanded into downtown Stanton and the Shenandoah Valley. And of course, our friends at Mexicali Restaurant. It's rainy today, but if you're looking for a place to enjoy dinner tonight, maybe happy hour, cocktails, or live music, Mexicali Restaurant, West Main Street, Old World of Beer location. 50 parking spaces on site. And of course, our team at Charlottesville Business Brokers. We've been brokering a lot of business transactions, folks. More are coming. More are coming, ladies and gentlemen. As perhaps some of the fallout from loans taken during the pandemic are now causing owners nearing retirement to consider expediting retirement or selling their labor of love. I think that's a lot of what's going on here. I want to talk on today's program about an intriguing real estate listing. They're called the Ivy Cottages. It's on Ivy Road. The exact address is 3500 Sunset Lodge Court. This used to be a motel actually, the Sunset Lodge Dining Room and Motel. It was founded in the early 1900s. The property features 10 thoughtfully designed one-bedroom and one-bathroom units, and it also has what appears to be the caretaker's house, an 1,800 square foot space with a main level that's actually very suitable for events or office use. It's on the market, just hit the market. The asking price is $3,250,000, basically $325,000 per room. 2.42 acres on Ivy Road. A compelling listing. Compelling listing with many of the units recently renovated and ready to go. Now, 2 of the 8 cottages are shells, so you're going to have to renovate them and bring them to market. They're providing the architectural plans. Judah, I'll direct message you this. This is the best way for me to send it to you, Facebook?
Sure.
I'll Facebook message it to you. See if we can get some of these photos and give me a thumbs up when the photos are ready to go. I want to talk on today's show about also one programming note. The president of the Jefferson Council is scheduled to be on the program. Is it Wednesday? Let me look at the calendar right here. The president of the Jefferson Council is scheduled to be on the program next Thursday at 12:30 p.m. live from Baltimore. He'll be in Baltimore, so we'll Skype him into the show. The Jefferson Council is really doing a hell of a job of flexing its muscle and utilizing its clout and influence to pepper the narrative with content that embodies its mission. And its mission is to return the single sanction honor code back to the University of Virginia. Its mission is preserving the legacy of Thomas Jefferson, a legacy that clearly is getting tarnished in 2024. Its mission is to promote a culture of civil dialogue and intellectual diversity, the free exchange of competing ideas. Competing is the key word at the University of Virginia. So we'll talk with the president of the Jefferson Council on this program on Thursday on the I Love CVille show. His name is Thomas Neal. A couple of items out of the notebook before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show. We touched on this briefly. A valued viewer and listener, Rob Neal, for putting this on my radar. Mike Barber and David Thiel let go by the Richmond Times-Dispatch. I'd be curious to see if Mike Barber and David Thiel and their massive following, if they organize, galvanize, and strategize and launch some kind of digital platform of their own. They were routinely doing a Monday podcast that was very well listened to. And right now, the gentlemen are probably in their late 50s and 60s. And they have children to feed, a skill set tied to sports journalism, and time on their hand. So Mr. Thiel in particular has a young child. Had the pleasure of interviewing both. I grew up in Williamsburg in the Daily Press reading David Thiel, fantastic sports writer. And as Lee Enterprises chops fat off its payroll, its star content creators, its star content creators are being pink-slipped, let go, laid off. We're going to have a media network in the Commonwealth that is going to be content creators that are 20-something-year-olds. If we don't already have it, it's going to happen even faster than I thought it was. I've had this conversation through the show with Mr. John Belair in direct message capacity. I'm seeing a world where the Richmond Times-Dispatch is going to be not just the paper of record for the greater Richmond area, but it's going to be the paper of record for the Commonwealth. And Lee Enterprises is just going to continue whittling down its editorial staff, and its small newspapers like the Daily Progress will just become sections or bureaus of the Richmond Times-Dispatch. It will be done entirely digitally, with a more expensive subscription or paywall that you're going to have to pay for online. So prepare yourself for that. I want to highlight this, though. The short-sighted nature of what Lee is doing. As readers of media, you create or establish an attachment with your content creator. You may not know the content creator in person. The extent of what you know of the content creator may be a byline, maybe their tone or their personality through their words, through their production, through their copywriting. But a relationship nevertheless is established. And you wake up in the morning looking forward to connect with said content creator. And that content in 2024 may be a podcast, it may be the written word, the spoken word, the video, the relaying of messaging through video. But you have a connection with said content creator. When parent companies that are not tied to a locality chop and whittle payroll like number 2 pencils, they are eroding that connection the subscriber has with the content creator, and that further erodes revenue tied with the content machine. That is also creating a number of competing micro outlets. You look at the Charlottesville landscape. The Charlottesville landscape has, I think Neil Williamson, who was just on Real Talk, is a good example. Neil Williamson creates excellent content with the Free Enterprise Forum. He talked on Real Talk this morning that the Free Enterprise Forum needs to raise $70,000 each year through fundraising and donations. $70,000 each year, the Free Enterprise Forum, that's their goal to raise. Sean Tubbs, with his Charlottesville Community Substack and his Town Crier Productions, is raising, is generating revenue through subscriptions. Doesn't really do ad sales through his Patreon account. You have the nonprofit Charlottesville Tomorrow that is in media, and it's raising money through fundraising and through grants. You have a lot of ways what we're doing here, where while not the revenue driver of the organization in totality, we're in the space of revenue being driven through advertising placement and through other content creators utilizing our infrastructure. You have Charlottesville, the Charlottesville Radio Group, who just launched a digital newspaper. Was it Seville Right Now? SevilleRightNow.com?
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
So what Lee is doing, Lee Enterprises owns most of the newspapers in Virginia. What they're doing is they're cutting, Richmond Business Sense is another good example out of Richmond. Cardinal News is another one. Virginia Mercury is another one. Okay, these are Molly Cogner with what she's doing with her Patreon, Socialist Dog Mom, and driving subscribers through Twitter and live tweeting city council meetings. She's getting support of people. Dave McNair's in this space with the Substack. What Lee Enterprises doesn't realize is while they're chopping fat off their payroll, their talented reporters, their content creators, they're creating micro competitors. And these micro competitors are so invested in the communities they're in because they're family men and women with kids that are in schools, they own houses, they're not leaving the markets. And while some of those individuals may go work for the University of Virginia, like Brian McKenzie, the longtime columnist at the Daily Progress, like McGregor McCants, my managing editor at the Daily Progress, like Whitelaw Reed, the sports UVA men's basketball beat writer at the Daily Progress, they're all content creators at UVA now. Some of them stay in the business, however, and create micro competition. Jerry Ratcliffe is a great example of that. Chris Wright is a co-owner of thesaber.com. He was the high school sports editor before me at the Daily Progress. Okay, Sean Tubbs, a good example, micro competitor. So Lee Enterprises, be careful of what you, be careful of your actions, because while you're saving on payroll, you're going to end up dying the death of hundreds of micro competitors that just erode your subscriber margin, because the micro competitors have more institutional memory and can churn more in-depth content than your 22-year-old content creators can. That's going to happen. All right. Do you have the photos for the cottages we can put on screen? All right, let's go ahead and put these on screen. This just hit some of us that follow the commercial side of real estate closely. This just hit public MLSs and has been circulated to me now on 3 occasions by 3 different folks that we work alongside or do business with that invest in real estate. Rotate the photos on screen. Ivy Cottages is how it's being marketed. And put that lower third on screen if you can as well, please, sir. 3,500 Sunset Lodge Court, a 10-room hotel it's how it's being marketed. The asking price is $3,250,000, $325,000 per room. First founded in the early 1900s, this property features 10 thoughtfully designed 1-bedroom and 1-bathroom units with fully equipped kitchens. 5 of these units are fully renovated and currently renting. 2 of the 8 cottages are shells awaiting creative renovation and have architectural plans that could convey. The main house is currently under renovation. It's centrally located on the property, as you can see by the photos. Just keep them rotating. The main house includes an 1,800 square foot versatile space on the main level that could be used for events, an office, or as a caretaker's home. The upper level features 2 additional 1-bedroom and 1-bathroom units. Guys, this is right in the middle of Ivy. It's 2.42 acres. And it's got serious upside. Does it need some work? Yeah. $325,000 per room. Is that expensive? Perhaps. But if you're able to position these cottages, there's 10 of them. Let's just talk about a per rent standpoint. What's the 10 rent for? I'd say the 10 rent probably, let's use an even number of $2,000 a month, and that's light. You're talking $20,000 there. Let's say you rent the main room for the main house for another $3,500 a month. We'll just use a round number of $25,000 a month in rent. That's your safe play of turning the cottages into yearly leases, securing a couple, a young professional, and just renting them on a 4 or 5% escalator every year on a yearly lease. The real play, as the firefighters are driving by the studio right now, right? Mm-hmm. Firefighters, right now. There we go. The real play and the real money is if you can potentially position these as hotels. If you can position this as hotel rooms and rent them by the night at a $350 a month, $350 a night clip, $450 a night clip, you got a lot of meat on the bone here, especially with its positioning close to 151. It's positioning close to King Family. It's positioning close to Pro Renata. It's close to Selvage. It's a hop, skip, and a jump away from Boar's Head. Hop, skip, and a jump away from Farmington. Hop, skip, and a jump away from Greencroft. You form a joint venture of some capacity with one of the wedding venues and be like, let's JV with the venue, send your guest our way, maybe a percentage of that revenue goes back to the venue. And the venue says, hey, you're having a party, you need a place, an intimate place for the bridal party or the groomsmen to stay. Here's where it's at. There's where your fat margin is. An intriguing listing, just active and recent to hit the MLS. I'm intrigued by it, and it was brought to my attention this morning by 3 individual people that I trust. So I wanted to pass it along to you, the viewer and listener. They know that I'm going to bring that on air as well. All right, we'll weave Judah Wickower in on a 2-shot. Judah, first, my friend. Your hands were they hurting when compiling that list yesterday with a pen and pad? When's the last time you've written that quickly?
Oh, yeah. I was actually going full old school, and I got a piece of vellum and a goose quill pen.
Oh, that's a Neil Williamson reference from this morning, right?
Is it?
Oh, no, maybe not. I thought he mentioned the goose quill pen. Anyway,
he may have.
How many were suggested to you from yesterday's show? Oldest running, currently in operation. Currently in operation is the key here.
I don't have that many fingers. Yeah, it was something like...
Was it over 50?
No, I think it was closer to 40.
Okay, so 40 yesterday.
And there are more.
Crowdsourced.
There are a lot more.
And these were not just restaurants.
Right. None of these were restaurants.
None of these were restaurants. We have that list already. So the key criteria for this list that you're putting together is the businesses have to be in operation and active today.
Yeah.
And how we're going to compile the content is oldest, longest running, it's still in operation, businesses.
Yeah, it's not going to be. There are going to be some blurry edges there because there are some places like what was it? I think Hansman Weeble.
Okay.
The guy was sent to Charlottesville. Hansman.
Hansman was sent to Charlottesville.
Was sent to Charlottesville to the company that he worked for. Owned an office here, and eventually, years later, he took over the office and obviously changed the name. And then it was years after that before he eventually partnered with Weeble. So where in that timeline do you consider the beginnings of that business? Was it when he first came to the office? Was it when he first took over the office? Was it when he first partnered with Weeble, and obviously it got the name that it's got now? And there's a lot of that with these businesses. Obviously, with
I think
businesses,
it's when it was founded. I think it was when it was founded. You go by what they say is their founding date.
Yeah, not all of them have a founding date. Some of them just have on their website, we've been in business for 90 plus years, helping people for 120 years.
What's the oldest one so far?
The oldest one so far that we've got is a church. Let me see. It is...
Was that the Grace Episcopal?
Yes, Grace Episcopal Church.
In Keswick?
Yep.
I've driven by that church hundreds of times.
Mm-hmm. Founded 1745.
Good night. Or should I say, good Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. Okay, so the other gray area, should the churches be included in the list?
Yep.
Or
Christ
should the
Episcopal.
churches be pulled out and made as their own piece of content?
It's a good question.
How many churches do you have in there?
Oh, let's see. Grace and Christ Episcopal are the youngest or oldest.
What are the years for the founding of Grace Episcopal and Christ Episcopal?
1745 for Grace and 1820 for Christ Episcopal Church.
Okay, and what else? First Baptist, I believe, has some longevity.
First Baptist, 1831.
You talk about one of the most valuable pieces of property right now in Charlottesville city limits. How about the dirt that First Baptist is sitting on right now? Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. Okay, businesses. Give us 2 or 3 of the businesses.
Oh, let's see. Well, we've already mentioned Hansman Weeble. We've got McGuire Woods. They are the oldest non-church business on our list. Founded in 1834. We've got Riverview Cemetery Company, founded in 1892. That was a combination of two smaller cemeteries. Better Living Building Supply, 1893. Martin Hardware Co. As we mentioned, they weren't selling gas grills back then. 1893.
So the oldest one's the hospital.
What's that?
The oldest one is the hospital?
The oldest business, UVA Hospital, was 1828.
So as we know right now, the oldest business in the Charlottesville area that is still in operation today is the UVA Hospital, and the year was?
1828.
1828. Unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
About to celebrate 200 years of the hospital. Absolutely unbelievable right there.
Yeah, it started with Anatomical Hall.
Anatomical Hall?
Yep.
First Baptist, Park Street, Bill McChesney. And he says, Bill McChesney, the mayor of McIntyre, churches should be on a separate list, Judah. And did anyone mention Keller and George?
Keller. I don't remember that one being on there.
Keller and George, no one did, is now under the Schwarzschild umbrella.
No, we do have it on here. I haven't. But I think I got it from somewhere else. I found a list of some old businesses that I was going to add in, but I've left them out of the overall list so far, and I haven't gotten to them anyway.
1873 for Keller and George.
I've got 1875.
Well, it says Schwarzschild, Keller and George Jewelers has called Charlottesville home since 1873. It's on their website.
All right.
1873 for Keller and George. Bill McChesney, good call. We'll work on this and put it together for you guys. John Blair's watching on LinkedIn and said, you guys have absolutely killed it this week with the shows. I don't know what it was about this week, but they were all A++. Thank you, John. He suggests bringing David Teal onto the Jerry and Jerry show. I'll reach out to Hootie Ratcliffe about that. That's a great suggestion on David Teal, someone I've admired since my childhood. Reading him since my childhood, David Teal. He used to come on my sports talk radio on ESPN Radio, my sports talk show on ESPN Radio back in the day. We'll keep you posted on when that content is released. It's going to be released on iloveseville.com. Obviously, yours truly wants it out as soon as possible. And the guy that's compiling the content says, This is time consuming.
Massively time, and not and there aren't always photos, which is, I've got to look and look and look.
Well, if they're not photos, you go with the name, and then you can potentially do, like, worst case scenario, a Google Map picture with a circle around it. Or
Okay.
you could probably crowdsource the picture with one of the viewers and listeners sending you a direct message with what you need. Because all they have to do is drive by it in person, pull out their iPhone, and take a picture.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, just because the photos are not online doesn't mean we can't find the photos.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
these businesses are still in operation.
if that's what we want, I could also go on Google Maps and
That's what you do.
do a street view.
In fact, that's even better. That's what we do. We go
We just-
street view if there's not a historical picture. But I think what is probably going to happen when this list is published on I Love Seville, I think it's going to go viral. And once it goes viral, I think the owners of the business are going to see the content on the list after it's gone viral, because it's going to be brought to their attention. And then make sure your email address and contact information or some way to contact you is on there. And I think they will send themselves the content to you, their hero historical pictures to you via email to update the list. And we want to caveat this. This is not the Bible.
Right.
It's not set in stone. As Brian Pinkston said with the new zoning ordinance, this is a living, breathing document that can be changed. B. Pinks said this. So the same could be for this as well. All right, a couple of other items out of the notebook. And Bill McChesney says South Plains Presbyterian in Keswick began in 1819.
South Plains what?
South Plains Presbyterian in Keswick,
Okay.
1819. South Plains Presbyterian in Keswick. 4 words there. All right, we'll go to
And tell me that year again.
1819. This is where you just want to write it down so we can save time and go to the next topic. South Plains Presbyterian, Keswick, October 15th, 1819. I remember when I used to interview folks when I was writing for the Daily Progress. We recorded everything with a recorder, and this was before we were doing it on our phones, because at the time I just had a normal cell phone. It was not an iPhone. So everything was recorded as a backup option. But because I was on deadline, I would write hero quotes, and a hero quote is like the 2 to 3 sentences that you know is going to show up in the 15 to 17 inches that you had to write in less than 30 minutes. I would write the hero quotes down on my notepad. Mm-hmm. And then I'd have them backed up on the recorder. The notepad, always trusty and the most efficient way of doing it. Let's go to the hazing headline. Put the hazing headline on screen and give us the who, what, when, where, why of that hazing headline. Mr. McChesney, thank you very much for that. And Edward Herring, welcome to the show, a new viewer and listener that was on Today y Mañana yesterday. Mr. Herring, thank you for watching the program. First headline, Judah Wickower, show is yours.
All right. Anti-hazing legislation has been passed in the U.S. House. I thought this was particularly apt, considering what we've been hearing coming from UVA with the what do you call it, the cutting of the
fraternal charter,
Yeah.
suspended until 2028, 2029 for one of the most iconic fraternities at the University of Virginia. Go ahead.
The bill overwhelmingly passed. Stop Campus Hazing Act. This was on Tuesday, and the legislation was largely inspired by the death of a young man.
What at
who
VCU?
you may have heard of. This was Tim Piazza at Penn State.
Oh, Penn State.
In February 2017, he passed away.
Another one passed away at VCU tied to hazing. I caught grief earlier in the show for some viewers and listeners where I talked about how hazing, when I was a student at the University of Virginia from 2000 to 2004, to what hazing is now. Hazing has been watered down.
Hazing has been watered down recently?
The hazing is not as significant as it was when I was there. And I would bet you it was not as significant when I was there as it was when my dad was there. Like it's lessened from a significant standpoint, from what's asked standpoint, from a pain, from a punishment, from a tryout standpoint, if you may. But the punishment and the repercussions have exponentially become more significant, to the point where Kappa Sig on Rugby Road, across from Chi Phi, right next to Phi Psi, which I was a part of, has had their fraternal order suspended. The earliest they can come back to grounds is 2028, 2029. And a couple of key items that I didn't mention earlier in the week on this, the brothers of Kappa Sig cannot even do an informal fraternity.
Right.
They can't even do like what could be seen as a fraternity, a party at an off-grounds house.
How would anyone know? I mean,
it'd be tough to enforce, but if it was tracked back, and let's cut to the chase, everyone's got cameras now, I would not be surprised if those guys would be brought up on honor code violation.
Right.
So the risk is significant.
No doubt. So obviously hazing is going to be different across every fraternity, and not just every fraternity, but every actual fraternity house. But I wonder if there are waves, so to speak, like years or spans of years where hazing gets, I don't know, more dangerous or less, where fraternities are maybe a little more careful, or just maybe a little more respectful of the people that are joining their ranks, or if it's just just random. I'd be curious to look into something like that.
I think well, first you've got to talk about the influence of social media.
Yeah.
If there's any kind of viral meme or trend going on social media that could be dubbed in any kind of, like there was remember the stealing of the cars on social media that youth were doing?
Yeah.
Teens were doing?
Mm-hmm.
That was a trend.
Yeah.
Okay, so that could be something that impacts hazing and its significance. But for the most part, and I hate to use the phrase watered down, because that does a disservice to the young man who died at VCU and the one you referenced at Penn State.
Yeah.
But it's gotten less severe.
Do you think so, though?
It's definitely gotten less severe.
I mean, well,
people aren't getting beat by fraternity paddles anymore. People aren't getting hot wax poured on their skin in private parts.
But do you know that for certain? Like I said, it's going to be different across not only fraternities but also fraternity houses.
I think it's gotten less significant because the ramifications of hazing have been more public.
And because it's so easy to record something like that.
Right.
And you end up...
There are no secrets anymore.
Yeah.
The Jefferson Council's published some content.
In this case, I think that's a good thing.
Did you see the content the Jefferson Council published about an audio recording?
Yeah. That was an interesting article. I didn't read the whole interview, but the basic allegation was whether or not the university, whether or not UVA comes down harder on fraternities than it does on left-leaning, protest students.
So this was tied to
protesters.
the fraternity Theta Chi. Mm-hmm. And this will come up in the conversation with the Jefferson Council President, Thomas Neal, next Thursday. Theta Chi has been suspended. And they did some, fairly, it's significant hazing, I guess I can say. But it was still, the stuff I went through was considerably worse. I know it doesn't make it okay. That's what your response, and that's fair. One of the members of Theta Chi was interrogated. This is from the Jefferson Council website, by Donovan Golick.
Yeah.
And he's the Assistant Director of Accountability with Student Affairs. This man was secretly being recorded while interrogating a Theta Chi member.
Yeah.
And while he was trying to get the Theta Chi member to rat on his brothers and to let him know what was going on, he threatened this student by reporting him to his ROTC commander, He was an ROTC student. He said, I'm going to report you to your ROTC commander. I'm going to file honor charges against you.
Yeah.
I'm going to file obstruction charges with the Student Judiciary Committee. He said, you're going to lose your ROTC scholarship. You're going to be temporarily banned from grounds. And then this Assistant Director of Accountability with Student Affairs, Donovan Golich, said this, quote, I'm done with people like you. I don't duck, quack, quack around, end quote.
I mean, that's, I don't know how UVA will respond to how this guy is interrogating a student. I just remember that a fellow fraternity member in California at USC once got out of a ticket because of a comment like that. The cop that pulled him over basically said, the police officer that pulled him over basically said, you know, I hate UVA kids like you, and he brought that to court with him, and the judge threw it out. I mean, it was just it was a speeding ticket. But the fact of the matter is, if you're, this guy Golich does not sound like he doesn't sound like he's just an investigator.
It sounds like he's got a vendetta.
Yeah.
He's got a vendetta against Greek.
Yeah.
And fraternities and sororities. Now, the Jefferson Council makes this argument. It's this same guy, this Donovan Golich guy, the Assistant Director of Accountability, that was tasked with pardoning, for lack of a better phrase, pardoning the pro-Palestine protesters.
What do you mean he was tasked with pardoning?
It was his department that eventually pardoned or cleared the pro-Palestine protesters from this past May. So the Jefferson Council offers a dichotomy, or says, is this a catch-22, or is this what's a better phrase for what I'm going for?
Is this a one rule for this group and another rule for that group? Biased.
Is this bias? So here you're interrogating a kid in the Theta Chi fraternity, saying, I'm going to contact your ROTC commander, I'm going to ban you from grounds, and you're going to lose your scholarship if you don't rat on your fraternity brothers on the hazing that happened. And there's a secret audio recording of this.
Yeah.
You can find that secret audio recording on the Twitter page of the Jefferson Council.
Nice.
And they put it in perspective with the same guy that did the interrogation, which I would say this is pretty heavy-handed interrogating.
Oh, definitely.
Especially when the kid's parents are not there, or frankly, legal representation isn't there.
100%.
When you're basically threatening the guy's position in ROTC, you're from ROTC you're going into the military post-college. So you're threatening the man's professional career. Yeah. His earning potential, and then you're basically leveraging his scholarship at UVA. You're talking tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars he's using as leverage against a kid.
Yeah.
Right?
And I wonder how much of that is true. I wonder how much of that he could even
right. Or is he just
happen.
threatening? Is it just baseless threats?
Yeah.
And the same guy eventually pardons.
Does that count as
honor code violation?
An honor code violation?
Or is that in the category of accountability?
I mean,
holding people accountable.
It's like the police being able to lie to someone in order to secure a
confession.
Yeah, confession.
So. Viewers and listeners, what are your thoughts there? Bill McChesney wonders if Golich was hazed when he was in college. Ray Cadell is on the road to show 1 of 3 this weekend, and he's listening while he's driving right now. We love Big Ray and the Cool Cats. We love Bill McChesney. Vanessa Parkhill, maybe the hazing is getting more attention because of the deaths. While most would see the paddles and hot wax examples you just gave as torture, those acts are less likely to lead to death on the surface.
Yeah.
The Jefferson Council says the same guy that's using heavy-handed interrogation tactics to what's the word? Coerce a confession out of a kid was the same that eventually pardon the pro-Palestine protesters that were still breaking rules, albeit maybe you can call them, I wouldn't use the word stupid rules. How would you characterize the rules?
I would say that there's not a complete equivalence with the two groups that he's talking about. In
Okay,
two
make that
instances.
argument.
Well, you're right. They may or may not have been.
They technically were against the rules.
But which rule exactly? I mean, there was some last-minute rule changes that were pushed through by the university in the middle of all of this going on, and
Well, they were asked to leave.
it largely sounds like they were following what they've been asked to do. They only put up tents on I believe a rainy evening, and then hadn't taken them down the next day. The whole thing sounds a little heavy-handed.
It's 100%. I thought it was BS.
Yeah, and so I don't really have an issue with them dropping the charges, especially considering that the attorney's office decided not to charge the kids. The whole thing, we've talked about the insanity of bringing in the Virginia State Police with riot gear and pepper spray. I don't see a whole lot of equivalence with what happened there and what happened here. But that being said, maybe that does show this guy's willingness to go a little easier on people that he
Identifies with,
possibly, yeah.
right? That he sympathizes with, empathizes with, has human connection.
Yeah. It's hard to say without knowing more about the guy.
This will be something that comes up on Thursday's show. This is from Deep Throat, who's fresh from lobbying the what'd you do yesterday, Deep Throat? Lobbying the legislator in Austin. Deep Throat did. He said the UVA admin hates Greek, but then they don't provide alternative housing at a reasonable price. Seems counterproductive.
Huh.
So Phi Psi, I was a member of Phi Psi, the fraternity at the end of the Mad Bowl, the iconic one. I'd say I'll tell you how many brothers lived in there when I lived there. 1, 2 on the first floor, probably 10 on the second floor, 8. So you're probably talking about that house right there housing for at least somewhere, depending on the day, depending on the year, 20 to 25 fraternity members, 20 to 25.
Yeah.
If you take away if you crush Greek, you are looking at probably needing to find additional housing.
Hundreds?
For at least.
How many fraternities you think they would disband the sororities
Oh
as
yeah,
well?
same umbrella.
Oof, yeah. I mean,
You're talking 1,000?
I don't know how many fraternities and sororities are.
Where would
are on
1,000
grounds.
additional students go? It wouldn't be on grounds.
Yeah.
The 1,000 additional students would go to off-grounds housing, further eating up the housing stock of off-grounds housing, and further driving up the rents around off-grounds housing, and further making it difficult for Charlottesvillians and working class to find housing in Seville. You would basically put an additional 1,000 students with mommy and daddy's credit card and mommy and daddy's checkbook into the housing ecosystem, cannibalizing stock for working class.
Yeah.
Think about that. We'll talk about that on Thursday's program. It's definitely another arrow in the bad PR quiver, a secret recording of an administrator heavy-handed interrogating a ROTC student, saying, I'm going to tell your commander, ban you from grounds, and strip you of your ROTC
Oh, wow. Listen to
scholarship.
this. This is from College Vine, so take it with a grain of salt, I guess. But They're saying that approximately 30% of UVA's undergraduate population is involved in either a fraternity or sorority.
Yeah, it's less than that now. It's less than that now.
And
So you're saying that number of 1,000 is light, but remember the point is this. The point is this, Judah. Not all of them live in the house.
Right,
You can
yeah.
be a member of the fraternity and sorority and not live in the house.
Yeah, that's true.
So those people that are not living in the house are already part of housing.
Mm-hmm.
So they wouldn't cannibalize other stock.
Yeah.
The question is, how many live in a fraternity or sorority house?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that number. I wonder where you could find that number. All right. A couple of other items out of the notebook here. We talked about the Ivy Cottages for sale. There's the Fixer right there. We don't need to go to the Market Street cam because we don't want to dox the Fixer. What was the last item?
What, the last item on our list?
Yeah.
The Seville engineer.
What's that?
The Seville engineer.
You're gonna put that on there? The Seville engineer with the dating website? All right, This will be a fun way to end the program.
I mean, it's not necessarily a dating website. I know it's called Surprise Date Spot, but
What's it? SurpriseDatespot.com?
yeah.
It's in beta. It's a Charlottesville a coder has built a website that's in beta called SurpriseDatespot.com.
But it works for...
I saw the interview happening yesterday afternoon outside Draft Tap Room. NBC 29 interviewed him.
It works outside of Charlottesville as well, though.
Well, he's trying to scale it outside of Charlottesville.
Yeah, I mean, I just clicked on Fredericksburg.
I'm not trying to poo-poo anybody's entrepreneurial journey, but explain to me how this is different from Yelp. The fact that there's a spinning wheel on there, if you don't want to make a decision, it picks the spot for you. I spun the wheel. On date night, guess what I got? I got the Noodle House. If on date night with 2 children and we spent $100 on a babysitter, if I took my wife to the Noodle House, she would be like, "You dummy."
Well, you can select and deselect things. So you can, if you want, you could just do Asian and have it surprise you with an Asian place.
Okay.
Or you could just do Latin American.
Can't we just pick our own places where we're going on date night?
You certainly can. But this is for people that
The
don't
value
want
proposition
to, or,
of this website is a spinning wheel that picks a place for you.
and sometimes that's what you need. When I go to
Judah's gonna wine and dine you ladies on date night, but the spinning wheel is gonna pick the location for
yeah,
you.
it's completely random. We may end up at McDonald's. We may end up at.
We may end up at Marco and Luca. Not throwing shade on Marco and Luca.
Yeah.
Not throwing shade on Marco and Luca.
I think it's a fun website, and it's easy and fast. After church, my parents and I are never in agreement about where to go have lunch, and sometimes having an outside pick can be helpful.
Okay, fair enough. Give them the URL. We'll give the man some props.
SurpriseDatespot.com.
SurpriseDatespot.com. There it is. I'll close with this. We've had a week of rain, and the rain's going through this weekend, it's looking like, although maybe some sun tomorrow. I've had a handful of restaurant owners reach out to me and say, "Jerry, please remind your viewers and listeners that when we lose business on the weekends, like the reservations are suggesting, it really, 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 really hurts our bottom line. Because the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are how we make our money." And they said the last thing we need is to lose one of our key weekends. And from their standpoint, they have about 40 key weekends a year because they don't call much of the first quarter a key weekend with credit card debt and all the mounting bills from Christmas and the holidays. Mm-hmm. So I'll close with this. Now more than ever, support the businesses that you love if you want to see them have the kind of longevity that the list that Judah's working on will embody. Mm-hmm. It's the Friday edition of the I Love CVille show. Judah Wickower's been on point all week. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. So long, everybody.